Hello, welcome to this C# support video for the fourth in the series on object-oriented programming in C#. So the idea of this challenge is that we have to implement a class called Rocket, and we need a method, so that's like a procedure or a function that belongs to each instance of the class, and it's a countdown method. So the idea is if the name attribute, remember an attribute is just like a variable that belongs to each instance of that class. If the name is Sputnik and the destination attribute is Mars, then when you call the method with a parameter of 10, so you pass in an argument of the integer value of 10, then it should count down from that 10 with a comma on the same line, but not going to 0, and then say blast off, and then the name of the rocket and the destination as well. So let's see. First of all, we need the method definition. It should be public so that any other class can access it too. It returns a string because that's the data type of the return value here. It should be called countdown. Now I'm not too sure here because I've used a capital C here and a lowercase c here, so we'll soon see if we get this wrong. Countdown. It should have an integer parameter called time. And for now, I'm just going to return, return properly, an empty string. Okay, so we'll see if it needs a capital C or a lowercase c. Let's have a look. Yes, it should be a capital C. Sorry about that, that's not very clear. So hopefully we'll get rid of all of the syntax errors now, but we'll have a runtime error because it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. So we need to count down from this number and then display a little message. So that sounds like iteration to me. We'll use a for loop. So for, well, maybe a for loop isn't the best idea actually, because we've already got this value here. Maybe a while loop might be better. So we can say while time is greater than 0, we can decrease time by 1. And we should probably have somewhere to store the, zoom in a little bit, to store the value that we're going to return. So if we say we'll have a string called countdown message, probably should have chosen something a little bit simpler to type each time. But then each time we count down, we're going to add something on to that countdown message so that we can then return it at the end of the method. So this method is a function, it returns a value. So what do we want to add on? We want to add on the time, and then we should also add on a comma. So let's see what that does so far. We might have a runtime error, we might have a syntax error, we'll see. So we've got the countdown part, but what we haven't yet got is the blast off and then using the attributes. So after the loop is finished, so that means when time has got to 0, we can add on something else. So let's say blast off. And then we want the name. So let's use the variable within the string here. So we have a attribute called name is going to, and then we have a destination. And then an exclamation mark. Hopefully that should work. We'll soon see. What have we got here? So there are some occasions when it's cancelled because we get an invalid countdown. Is that in here? Yes, if you get a negative number, you don't do the countdown and you get something else instead. So we should probably have some selection here, an if statement. So if the countdown, if time is less than 0, because 0 is an acceptable value. So if the time is less than 0, then we want a different message. And we could return it straight away, I suppose. Let's see. Oops. So it should say the name, launch to, and then destination. Oops, if I can spell destination right. Is cancelled due to invalid countdown. Let's try that. What's happened now? So we should have got Sputnik to launch to Earth is cancelled due to invalid countdown, and what we did get is Sputnik 2 launched Earth is cancelled due to invalid countdown. So what have I done differently here? Have I spelt something wrong? Have I coded the test wrong? Sorry, I just put an extra is in front of the cancelled, which I think makes more grammatic sense, but isn't what I was thinking when I made the test, so it has to be spot on for it to work. Excellent. So the things to remember from this one is that an attribute is like a variable that belongs to each instance of a class, and a method is like a function or a procedure, a subprogram that belongs to each instance of the class.